it's Amanda and Barron, and we are back again with Kicking Cancer Cares. Our sponsor for the second half is Marianne McNally. She is a residential real estate specialist with Next Home Realty Connection. So if you're looking to buy a home, sell a home, or you're just not really sure where to start, go ahead and give her a call at 503-409-4389, and she is your go-to girl for all of those things. And please keep her in your prayers as she's going through her own battle with breast cancer right now.
Yeah, we appreciate Marianne being
Oh, so much. She's such an amazing human.
Well, we've been having a very interesting comparison conversation. I met Yuriy a couple years ago. We'll get into that here in a little bit. But as I got to know him, I thought, what if we did a show with a comparison to Russia and the United States?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what the total population of Russia is, but geographically,
You didn't look it up before you came?
that would be the one I know.
Shame.
Usually I have all those numbers.
Shame.
But it was intriguing as I began finding some information about this show. I can see Yuri's going to get he's getting the population for us here in a second. I was
44 million.
44 million.
144.
144. So what's
million.
the United States since you're already there? 144 million in Russia.
Wow.
And 333.
Wow.
So we are 2.5 times as big population-wise.
Yeah. Okay.
But I think geographically we're
Yeah.
about the same size. Or
No,
Russia
Russia is much bigger.
much bigger.
Russia.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of territory that's just not used.
It's too darn cold.
The region that you were in Siberia.
Yeah.
The Siberian region's a big region.
Yeah, and it's very spread out. Actually, the town, a little segue, but the town that I was born in was a prison town where Joseph Stalin would send people off to.
Oh.
And it was a prison town where you couldn't get in or out, but there was no walls. Because if you want to run, go ahead and run. Where are you going to go? There's nothing
yes.
for hundreds of miles.
So from the town you grew up in, how far was it to the next town?
There was
way.
another one about an hour and a half away, Khabarovsk.
Wow.
But if you start going back west, I mean, it's a lot of nothing.
Yeah. So it's an interesting comparison as to Russia, but I want to make sure that the numbers I'm bringing you are comparative numbers, right? Not skewed. But this next one, I can't figure out the reasons, and Yuriy and I have talked quite a bit about the reasons for this. So this next one is called cancer incidence rates by cancer. So now we're going to break cancer down to each type of cancer.
Yeah.
Now in the United States, the number one cancer last year, this year, it's been a while now. Number one is still breast cancer. Number two is prostate cancer.
Okay.
Except on my little chart, those two didn't even make the top 10
Really?
in Russia.
Really?
Breast
Okay.
and prostate didn't make the top 10 in Russia. Number one cancer in Russia is skin. And again, I want to clarify a couple things for the listeners. There's two types. There's basal cell carcinoma, which is what Bob Bush has had. And that's a very topical cancer.
Yeah.
So if you get exposed to the sun too much, you can get cancer on your skin and then just cut those layers of skin off, right? Melanoma, which is what Russ Hedge has, it's what Terry, that was a guest, had, right? That gets into the fibers of your skin.
Right. That's much more difficult, right?
And much more deadly.
Yes.
Okay? So we're talking about skin cancer in Russia.
So which is it in Russia?
That one is the melanoma.
Melanoma.
It's the one that gets inside the fibers of your skin.
So it's not because of the sun. It's something more chemical.
Something. And we have a couple of theories on that.
Okay.
There's a phrase we've used more than once on this show. I'm going to show you a correlation. And I just want to make sure that the listeners understand, I am not telling you causation because I cannot prove causation, but there's a very interesting correlation. Now the second one in Russia, lung cancer.
Okay. A lot of smokers, maybe?
Well, let's ask Yuriy. Are there a lot of smokers in Russia?
There are a lot of smokers. Matter of fact,
Oh, this is funny.
I was telling Barron the story. A friend of mine that I was working with, he was telling me, he's like, hey, when I moved from Russia to America, I had to quit smoking because they wouldn't sell it to me because there's a legal age limit here. I was like, how old were you when you moved? He was like 13.
Whoa.
So he had to quit smoking when he was 13 so it was super common. The rule to buy cigarettes or alcohol in Russia is if you can reach the counter.
No way.
That was
Even
really
alcohol?
good. Alcohol. You
If
just
you
all
can
you have to
reach
say
the counter.
it's for my dad, and they go, sure, here you go.
Wow.
So they'll sell it to anybody as long as you can say it's for my dad. So yeah, it's common. I remember going to over there. I was in finishing up elementary school, and you would go into the bathrooms, and the bathrooms are just full of smoke.
In elementary school.
Elementary and middle schoolers are smoking.
So maybe lung cancer is smoking related.
Yeah,
Maybe,
well,
just
my
maybe.
thought is, because I've always heard that the Russians really like their vodka and love to drink. And a lot of times when you see just anybody drinking, a lot of people will like chain smoke while they drink. But that's crazy. There's not even age limits or restrictions.
No. Matter of fact, beer wasn't even considered an alcoholic drink. It was considered like kombucha. It was like a soft drink. So it's not even alcohol in Russia until I think it's just a few years ago. But yeah.
So beer fell in the same category as kombucha,
Pop.
as pop.
Yeah.
That's bizarre.
Wow. So I appreciate
That's
bringing
scary.
this because, you know, and we grew up here in America. We don't even think about the cultural differences. That's a big cultural difference between Russia and the United States. And you were 15 when you were here? 11.
So.
You weren't old enough to smoke yet.
No.
But your friend
Or was
had,
he tall? He may have been.
So your friend had to quit smoking at 13 because he wasn't old enough to smoke in the United States.
That's
So
bizarre.
he was talking about that difficulty of like just getting off nicotine. He's like, man, it was tough. You know, at 13 years old.
That's so crazy. And then the people that didn't smoke, a lot of people were smoking around. And like you said, the bathrooms were full of smoke. So that secondhand smoke, yeah, that's wild.
So that would be.
So that makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah.
That makes sense for that
Why the
one.
lung
But the
cancer?
skin cancer.
Well, I'm going to throw a theory out.
Okay.
And Yuriy and I have talked about this theory. For some people, you might be too young to remember when it happened, but you may remember it from history.
Okay.
It was April of 1986, and they had a nuclear facility that blew up,
Okay.
Chernobyl. Do you remember that from history class?
I do
at all?
not.
Okay. Ashley's going to look right now.
Did you remember it? Yeah. Okay.
I would challenge anyone that doesn't remember it, just go look it up. But it was
Yeah.
a big deal. I mean,
Yeah.
what do you remember learning about that when you were in Russia?
Interestingly enough, not much, because it was so hushed down. The government, if you, by the way, we were talking about the show on HBO, great show about Chernobyl, if you want to check it out. Matter of fact, great recommendation for you. They try to shut down and kind of quiet down and mute up the seriousness of the situation that I haven't even heard about Chernobyl until I got here.
Really?
Yeah, because
And what year were you born?
87.
So you were born right after it happened.
Yeah, and I heard nothing about it. And then
it was a really serious event.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really serious.
And it was interesting that I watched that show twice. Watched it by myself, and then I watched it with my dad. And it was interesting to hear his perspective on it, where he goes, "No, a lot of this is just American propaganda. Like, this is not how it happened, and this is not as serious as it actually happened. Oh, it was no big deal."
So do you know what Chernobyl was?
I don't.
It was a very large place to produce nuclear energy.
Oh, okay.
And it overheated and blew up, and all of the stuff just went into the air. And
Clarification.
It's a power plant.
It was a power plant. That's right.
Okay.
Nuclear
Okay.
power plant.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there was one very similar to that in Washington at Hanford.
Mm-hmm.
And what they were doing was you had hydroelectric power, which is what dams are.
Right.
And they thought, well, if we could find a way to harness the energy of a nuclear bomb, except harness it for power, so it was a power plant.
Yeah.
And what I didn't know, Yuriy and I were looking this up, it was actually in the very north part of the Ukraine.
yeah,
So
just
actually-
above Kyiv.
Yeah, that's where the plant was located.
Yeah.
Except there was a meltdown and it exploded.
Holy
And it
smokes!
went
So all
just
those
up into
chemicals.
the air, and then the wind is just taking the stuff
Yeah.
all over the place. I think from the show that they mentioned, they found traces of it as far as Japan.
Whoa.
So once it went up to the air and air started carrying it, I mean, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
So,
And it was, that region is on the west side of Russia down towards the bottom.
Okay.
So it explodes, it goes up in the atmosphere, then as it begins to wind, it begins to spread like this.
Yeah.
And if it made it all the way to Japan, I mean, it would cover the all of Russia.
Yeah.
Right. I will be interested, now that I have to do some more homework, how did China get affected by Chernobyl? Because it would have spread there too.
Mm-hmm.
Except skin cancer, melanoma in the fibers of your skin.
Mhm.
You have all of this
Chemicals.
fallout,
Yeah.
chemicals that's in the atmosphere 38 years ago.
Wow.
And it takes
So no wonder,
it
yeah.
takes some time for the data to catch up with
Oh,
the
yeah.
problem.
Mm-hmm.
So we see this dramatic climb in cancer over the last 11 or 12 years.
Wow.
Took some time for those chemicals to get on your body, in your body, second generation, like
I was just gonna say, I wonder if it can be passed through, like if you have those chemicals within your body, can you pass it on through a pregnancy?
if you were pregnant when that happened.
Oh yeah, and then touching. We need your mic on.
I know, there's so much I want to say right now from watching that. Like,
We have some good input from our
There were
camera
people
person.
outside even right after watching it and the ashes falling on them, and they're just like, "Oh, snow."
Yeah.
No, that's not. Yeah.
Yeah, when St. Helens blew here, it was ash. It wasn't
Wow.
chemical. It was rock ash
Yeah, right.
here. But there, it wasn't snow.
It was the straight just chemicals of it, just the byproduct of it, and then the firefighters that actually went there had no idea what they were walking into, and they were picking up pieces of radioactive material
oh my gosh.
that within a matter of minutes ate their flesh. And then the people that were touching the firefighters, they had those side effects as well.
Oh wow.
So you could just touch the person that was at the site and you were done.
Yeah.
You were
Wow.
This documentary, the timing for you guys.
Not a sponsor, by the way,
It's
right?
amazing.
HBO is not a
done.
sponsor.
If you haven't watched it, you have to watch it.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's
Wow.
so good.
So
What
it-
was the name of it again?
Chernobyl.
Chernobyl.
Is the
Yeah.
name of the documentary
Yeah.
show? Okay.
Yeah.
They
so-
kept it a secret. They didn't want to tell anybody what was going on. Even the scientists that knew, they were trying to tell the military people that were trying to keep it a secret. This is we need to get out of here. We need to leave. They even made
The
the
scientists
scientists
were
go
saying.
to the site and reconfirm what they already knew. And you're sending me to my death right now?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Wow.
So again, correlation,
Whoa.
causation.
Yeah.
But
Big time.
the timing for you to see that documentary, here we sit 38 years later, and my little chart is about 12 years old. And so once it's on your skin, in your skin, and then it starts to take effect, and we just see this massive climb.
Yeah.
So the cancer rates are definitely climbing dramatically. in Russia.
That's interesting when you see what type of cancers and then you know things like that have happened. You start connecting the dots.
Yeah.
Big
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
But there's one more component that Yuriy brought to my attention that I would never have thought about when it comes to Russians. And it's really more of an attitude over there, isn't it, Yuriy?
Yeah, so I think that's another theory, if you want to add it to the mix, is I just remember the attitude towards the medical professionals was skepticism. You in Russia, you don't trust the government, but you also don't trust the doctors, because over there the medical care was very poor because it's coming out of communism. It's subsidized, so you actually don't pay anything. You could bribe some doctors to get you better care if you have that source, but typically you're very skeptical towards medical professionals, and I think that's a big reason for that rise of cancer. Because how you fight cancer is through awareness, right? That's what you are all about. That's your motto. Just get tested.
Right.
Well, over there, you don't go to the hospital unless you are dying. So just lack of trust towards medical professionals is probably causing a lot of these cancer numbers to rise higher and higher, because you don't go and get tested.
They don't go and do their normal checkup to see if something abnormal even pops up, even if they're not feeling sick. They only go when it's like, I'm on my deathbed, something's wrong.
Yeah.
Wow.
I met another gal who lives up in the Portland area, and her family is very similar to Yuriy's, where she came here in her 20s, and her one side of her family is Ukrainian, the other side is Russian. It's really difficult for her right now with what's going on because it's literally split like that back home. But where she lived in the Ukraine, when you walked into a medical facility for whatever was wrong, they didn't have the insurance system that we have here. So when you walk in, there were two hallways, and the hallway to the right was Western medicine approach to your problem, and the hallway to the left was a more naturopathic approach to your problem.
Okay.
Except if the Western medicine approach is not covered by insurance, it's way more expensive.
Right.
So most of them in her community they would go to the left because
Okay.
it costs less money.
Yeah.
And they took a much more naturopathic approach to the problem because they couldn't afford
Right.
the other one.
Yeah.
Was that anything that you saw?
I think I was too young to remember that. I just remember going to dentist appointments. I remember getting the shots, the vaccines. Yeah, I was probably a little too young to capture that.
To carry that cost factor in, my
Yeah.
last shocking piece will probably drop you out of your chair.
Okay.
This is top cancer drugs based on how much money they made on their revenue globally.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And this is from 2023, so this is very recent data. The number one drug is Keytruda.
Mm-hmm. I've heard that one.
You've probably seen the ads on TV for Keytruda. Globally, that one drug alone made $25 billion.
Whoa.
25 billion.
Billion.
And we talk about not being able to afford it, and maybe you
Wow.
can bribe a doctor.
Yeah.
So I go back to Kickin'Cancer.
$1 billion. That's so much.
So much. The number 3 drug on this list is Opdivo at $9 billion. Both of those are immunotherapy drugs. Well, from Chris's book, he said that Opdivo was originally designed for lung cancer, and what it reported was to give you an extra 3 months.
That's right. Yes.
Remember?
Mm-hmm.
It did not cure the lung cancer. It gave you an extra 3 months.
Possibly an extra 3 months.
Correct.
Right?
At a cost of $100,000 a dose. And because
And how many doses did they require?
1 a month.
Okay. Yeah.
And because of the fact that it was not guaranteed, Bristol Myers actually trademarked the phrase "a chance to live longer."
Just a chance. Not a guarantee.
Wow.
Yeah.
For
That's what you sell with. That's your.
Your
Yeah.
selling feature is there's a chance to live longer, but if we were to get into business, we can't use that phrase because they trademarked that phrase.
wow.
So that's one of those drugs. The other one they mentioned in here is, and then what it also says is Opdivo can cause your immune system to attack normal organs and tissues in any area of your body, and it can affect the way they work. So it's designed to attack the problem, which in that case was lung cancer, but it attacked other regions at the same time.
Right.
So your lung cancer would go away and your livers would fail.
Lovely.
The other one they mentioned here is Keytruda, number 1 on the list.
Yeah.
This is not going to shock you when it comes to why it's number 1. It's estimated to cost as much as $1 million per year per patient.
That's bizarre.
$1 million.
I would like to know how
per
much it
year
costs to
per
make the
patient.
dose. I'd like to know what the cost of the actual dose is for the manufacturer.
Yeah,
What's the profit margin on that?
Yeah, what's the profit margin
exactly.
on someone's life?
The last thing they mentioned in here is that there's 2 companies. Merck is one of them. Bristol Myers Squibb's the other one. They sold almost $9 billion worth of immunotherapy drugs, which are those drugs, in 15, 16, and 17. 3 years, those 2 drugs alone made $9 billion.
Unreal.
So there's a reason why the Russians are a little skeptical of doctors.
Yeah, I don't blame them. I do not blame them.
Yeah, I mean, I go down this list, and Merck is what makes Keytruda. Well, Keytruda is not chemotherapy.
Right.
It's a immunotherapy, and it's designed to actually allow your own body to work with you to kill the cancer, except it begins to kill other things at the same time.
Yeah.
The number 2 drug is a blood cancer drug. Number 3 is another immunotherapy. Number 4 is another blood. But if I add all of these up together, all of them, the global cost money is $250 billion a year.
Unreal.
That's what the top 10 drugs are making.
And this
globally.
trickles down to everybody, not just cancer patients, but this is why our insurance costs so much to withhold, and it literally affects everybody, so that these companies can make hundreds of billions of dollars.
Yeah.
And another aspect to it is they're making this money, so somebody's buying this stuff.
Yeah.
Somebody has the finances, and they're giving their last money, like you said, for a chance.
For a chance
So
to
just
live
a chance.
Longer.
The one person that we've talked about on the show who I know for a fact was using both of those Jennifer Beaumont down in.
Yes.
So Jennifer had lung cancer, and she just wanted a little bit more time. So she was actually taking Keytruda and Opdivo. I remember her telling me that. And she did get about 5 more months. And I know she didn't have the money to pay for it.
Right.
So who's in bed with who here?
Right. Yeah.
The insurance companies, the pharmaceuticals. Who's in bed with who here?
And how was she? How was she those last 5 months? Was she okay?
She was okay. She was weak, but she was okay.
Right. Yeah.
You know.
Okay.
So it's a very complicated topic.
It is. It is.
Great. The bigger thing I want, because we've got about 5 minutes left, is it was just amazing how I met Yuriy. We were doing our honoring evening 2 years ago. Stephanie Bob had come on board to help us with the event planning part of it. She made this house into a beautiful room. And she says, I have a friend who can play some background music. Well, you were at the honoring this year, and he was playing the background music.
Okay, awesome.
So if you remember while you were eating dinner,
yes,
there was a guitar in the background?
Yes.
That was him.
Not the beautiful voice of Matt Miller. That was, that was the show.
So I met Yuriy when we did that honoring evening, and he did the music in the background. It was wonderful. And then afterwards, he comes to me, and he ordered a specially designed shirt for his crew. They're orange shirts.
Okay.
Orange because in construction sites, orange is a high visibility color that's required to be seen. So.
Yeah. But I asked you a question during the break. Is there someone in your life that's affected by cancer?
Amazingly, no. Amazingly, I don't have any family or friends that have been touched by that.
And I did ask that question once in a room full of about 60 people, and one hand went up.
Really?
Out of 60 people.
Wow.
So he's the one who doesn't have somebody affected.
Yeah.
So my other question would be is, I appreciate you sticking around.
Yeah.
But why have you stuck with me for 2 years? Why does this cause mean to you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think part of why I love doing what I do, owning a business, at certain points, I have these resources that I get to put into things that I believe in, and you're one of those because I really believe in what you do. Raising awareness for cancer is it's close to God's work, because you're fighting for people's lives. You're giving people a chance. If you could use that slogan a little longer, right? Yeah. You're giving people awareness of, hey, go and get checked. If you see any signs, go and get checked. And more people need to hear the message that you're giving. More people need to hear this radio show. And
I appreciate that.
Go to Kickin'Cancer.com, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I believe in what you do, and I love what you do, and I'll always be a supporter.
I appreciate. Well, and I have to tell you, the shirt that he's wearing, because no one is directly affected. We had a bunch of shirts left that says "Faith for Faye" on it.
I love it.
And I thought it'd be really fun at the cancer awareness basketball game to have the players wearing the shirts. So Yuriy actually purchased a shirt for every one of Jason Conrad's players to wear.
Wow.
That's the shirt they all wore. During their pregame warm-up, they were all wearing that shirt.
How cool.
Thanks to Yuriy stepping up and buying the shirts.
That's awesome. Why don't we give a shout out to your business one more time? Tell us what you do and how people can get a hold of you.
Yes, Mountain Coast Electric. We operate in Salem and surrounding areas. We do electrical in residential, commercial, and service areas. And you could go to mountaincoastelectric.com, or you could just Google electrician Salem, and we'll pop up there somewhere.
Awesome.
And if you need any electrical work, give us a call.
Perfect.
Well, I know that I've gone to the rec, and I've seen you at the rec, fixing some stuff there for Tim at the rec.
Oh, yeah.
You're at a lot of places around town. So, well, we really appreciate your support. I really do. And you said something a minute ago, and it's different than what Opdia does as far as the chance for life.
Yeah.
If Kickin'Cancer did anything, we were able to step in with Ozzy.
Yeah.
And give him a little more time.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
A little more memories, a little more time, but not at a cost of $100,000 a dose.
Right. Absolutely.
And I guess it dawned on me after doing this for about a year. I kept thinking, what am I selling? You sell electrical services. Yeah. They sell advertising in the station. And it dawned on me, we're selling hope.
Yeah.
We're selling hope.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
So I just mentioned that we're selling hope. I would like you to do me a favor, Yuriy. Talk to the people in this area that are Russian in their language and give them some hope.
Я хочу поговорить с вами, особенно те люди, которые родители. Многие из вас живут для своих детей и для тех, кто для своей семьи. И вы служите им, и вы кормите их, и поете их, и вы живете для них, но иногда бывает момент, когда вам нужно жить для себя. И один из этих моментов может быть тот момент, когда вы видите какие-то причины, чтобы пойти в госпиталь и провериться, есть ли у вас рак. Я хочу просто ободрить вас, чтобы вы иногда брали момент, чтобы жить для себя. Если вы видите или чувствуете, что у вас может быть рак, идите в больницу, проверьтесь, потому что этот момент, когда вам нужно жить для себя. And just what I shared, can I say what I shared?
Yeah,
in English?
give those of us who don't speak Russian. We just said.
So I just said that you, some of you, most of you maybe who are parents, you live for your kids and your family. And you serve them, you feed them, you shelter them, and you live for people around you. Well, there's a moment in your life where you need to live for yourself. And one of those moments is when you think you might have signs of having a cancer. In those moments, take that moment to live for yourself and go and get checked.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you need to live for yourself.
That's a great way to end the
Yes,
show.
it is.
Great way to end the show.
Wow, thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right, our sponsor for the second half is Marianne McNally. She is a residential real estate specialist with Next Home Realty Connection. So if you're looking to buy a home or sell a home, she's your go-to. Give her a call at 503-409-4389. And we'll be back next week
As the movement continues.